Testing, testing, testing. Hello everyone and welcome to the fifth and final weekend of the 2024-25 Optegra Championship, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, for the opening game of the day to be contested between Sale United and GBG Knights. The teams are ready. They are prepared. Let's go through the squads quickly. Jack Hassan, Daniel Holt, Jake Hudson, David D and Mason Davies comprise Sale United squad. And for their challengers in hot pursuit of the championship title, we have GBG Knights, Reese Mallet, Kai Shah, Oscar Smedley, George Holloway, Jack Ewins and Troy Willicombe. Let's clear the graphics so you can see the teams preparing. Live on Court B, kicking off at the same time. Manchester United take on Leeds Dynamos. But once again, a huge thank you to everyone tuning in for this early morning kickoff. Should be a great game. In the centre, we have Jeff Lewis. Sale United and David D. Looks as if they've won the coin flip to kick proceedings off. Thumbs up from the coaches. 2 days of intense competition to conclude what has been a sensational season. Thumbs up from Reese Mallet, thumbs up from Jake Hudson. And we are underway. Sale United versus GBG Knights. Two teams probably fighting for very different things in this fifth and final weekend. GBG Knights, as already mentioned, looking to end the season with that trophy in hand. They're going to have to make up some ground on Muscle Warriors, who lead the table on 47 points. This is a game in hand that GBG Knights have over Muscle Warriors. Should they win this, they will go within 2 of the current league leaders. Worth noting, the two are set to play tomorrow afternoon. So to go through the squads as they start this fixture, in black, the goalkeeper for Sale United is that of Jake Hudson, having a brilliant season as player coach. In front of him will be Jack Hassan. The ever-present David D and Mason Davies will form some form of attack. GBG Knights have Reese Mallet in the white. Their outfield players in green, Jack Ewins, Kai Shah and George Holloway. George Holloway, the current league top goal scorer, having the season of his life. 24 goals in total. 20 of those have come in the Optegra Championship. On the bench for Sale United, single substitute of Daniel Holt, and for GBG Knights, Oscar Smedley and Troy Willicombe. Oscar Smedley leading the assist charts with 18 in his first ever National League season. Unprecedented levels of quality from the debutant. Nice work from David D to cushion the ball down that left-hand side to the youngest player competing in our National League, or Championship, sorry, Mason Davies. I believe only his third or fourth weekend competing at this level. Should there be any goals on Court B, I will endeavour to bring you them as soon as possible, as you can see from that graphic. After 2.5 minutes, nothing to separate them. If we're referencing the league standings, as David D picks out Jack Hassan, the two have established such a fantastic relationship and chemistry for Sale United and have been key to the majority of the success the Manchester-based side have had. Currently 6th in the standings, locked on the exact same number of points as their close rivals and sister club Manchester United, having conversations with the side. I think that is the ultimate ambition of this season, to finish above Manchester United. But even if they're unable to do that, take nothing away from the quality they've shown, the progression they've exhibited. GBG Knights, the most prolific side competing in the entire National League. 63 goals they've got across their 17 games, only conceded 8, so sit on a very healthy plus 55 goal difference, and that could be really significant dependent on theirs and Muscle Warriors results, as George Holloway can't quite get the angle to generate a shot on goal. But you're seeing this almost free-flowing attack of GBG Knights. Conservative relatively though, with Reece Mallet yet to really contribute in way of attack. Something they have exhibited across the 24-25 campaign is that almost 4-out approach, one that very few teams across the entire National League adopt. But when it's done right, it can be a real treat for the eyes. As Jack Ewins, another player quietly going about his business, having a brilliant season. He transferred from AFC Bournemouth Warriors in the summer. Down to Kai Shah, lets it run across his chair, just guides it into the back wheel of Jake Hudson. Ricochets out, Jack Ewins, probably sensibly so, just refrains from making full contact with that. It would have only have led to a Jack Hassan ricochet, and they're going to want to mitigate as many risks as possible. They have far more to lose than Sale United, so we may see an almost tentative, conservative approach to begin with. They're just going to want that opening goal. Nice distribution from Jack Ewins, a heavy touch from Kai Shah, and it ricochets out of play. That's sensible, experienced work from Jake Hudson there. Maybe some slight nerves from GBG Knights, but it's to be expected considering what's at stake. They've almost certainly wrapped up an automatic promotion place to next season's Premiership. David D unable to make contact there. I think he was caught in two minds. There was two really presentable options. Jack Hassan on the left, Mason Davies on the right. But knowing Kai Shah, knowing the other players of GBG Knights, the ultimate ambition won't be just promotion. It will be having that medal placed around their neck at the end of the season. Always as George Holloway lines up a shot just wide of the left-hand post. They're starting to get a rhythm, starting to establish their passing lanes, but that final killer instinct has been missing thus far. Thank you to everyone tuning in. As always, get your comments, predictions, thoughts in the comment section of our YouTube stream, and I'll give you a shout out. Who do we think is going to win the championship? Who's going to claw their way into that third place playoff position? Who will avoid the jeopardy spots at the bottom? Everything to be decided both today and tomorrow. Kai Shah with a kick in on the right. Into the box. Once again, fired into the back wheel of Jake Hudson. Constant communication there from David D, just to organise Jake Hudson to compensate for any lack of visibility or awareness of what's around him. Sometimes there is a tendency to get so locked onto the presence of the ball that you can disregard opposition teammates and other factors. But a bright opening couple of minutes in this one, just shy of 8 played into Jack Hassan, Mason Davies. Again, that final little bit of snap and precision in their passing for both teams has been missing so far. It's fairly representative of these early morning kickoffs. It's something we discuss a fair amount in and around power chair football and the National League specifically. These 9:30 games on a Saturday morning always come with a degree of sluggishness and a lack of alertness, no doubt due to the travel requirements of our players. But as we start to get into the mid-morning games, things really start to heat up. So if you're GBG Knights, the ultimate ambition is and will be to just make sure you get 3 points. No matter how you do it. Sale United are such a tough team to break down. They've demonstrated that across the season. And I think that the statement still stands that they haven't lost by more than 2 goals all season. They've already surpassed points tallies of the last 3 years, showing the clear development as Oscar Smedley, on in place of George Holloway, has his first major involvement. A real player to watch, one that has a very bright future. And on that topic, it's worth noting that at the conclusion of game week 5, we will of course, as we always do, be running the team of the weekend poll where you can vote on your team of the weekend, your 4 players and substitutes. You can vote for your standout player of the weekend and unsung hero of the weekend. But within the week, probably about Tuesday or Wednesday, as Jake Hudson very advanced. Over to Mason Davies, slight vulnerabilities, potential break on for GBG Knights. Oscar Smedley lets it run across his chair, 180, beautifully picks out Kai Shah on the alternate wing. Reece Mallett now commits forward. Jack Ewins filling in for that defensive duty. This is really good play, end-to-end stuff. Both teams looking like they want to take a goal advantage. But Tuesday or Wednesday, we will be opening the end-of-season awards, where we will encourage you to vote for your player, young player, team, coach, fantasy team, to mention just a few. And I've no doubt several players on this court as we speak will be in contention for the various accolades and recognitions we have up for grabs. David D, no doubt, for young player. Oscar Smedley will be in that conversation as well. This is going to be a really intriguing battle. Flicked back to Jack Ewins. Oscar Smedley and David D will have some familiarity of each other's games, having both recently enrolled on the FA's Regional Emergent Talent Programme for the Midlands region. Just see how decisive and assertive Smedley is in his actions, as Mason Davies, another incredibly bright young prospect, finds Jack Hassan, and there's a real opportunity here across the face of goal. Jack Ewins has to cut that out, otherwise Mason Davies was available at the back post. This is end-to-end stuff, a brilliant game so far. Took 5 or 10 minutes to burst into life, but since that, both teams looking a real threat on the counter. Kai Shah once again across his chair. Oscar Smedley at the back post, couldn't quite get the contact. Once again, just that little bit of clinicalness and sharpness seems to be evading both of these teams. I've no doubt the more the game goes on, the sharper the players will get, the quicker the reactions will become, and the more success will be had. Too much contact there from Jack Ewins, so a contact foul goes in the favour of David D and Sale United. We've had 12 and a half minutes Sale United 0, GBG Knights 0. The exact same as the scoreline on Court B. Oscar Smedley cut out by Jack Hassan. Nice assertive pass. A very interesting decision there from Oscar Smedley. Fired back towards his own goal. And out of nowhere, Sale United have won themselves a corner kick. One of the first, if not the first, of the fixture. To be taken by David D. Mason Davies, the far option. Jack Hassan, the closest. Well marked. One effort at goal, two efforts at goal, and the second ricochet finds its way over the line. Brilliant stuff from Sale United. David D providing the assist. Jack Hassan persistent. Didn't panic at his first opportunity being saved. Positioned his chair and made sure he capitalised. Sale United 1, GBG Knights 0. I have no doubt we have players, coaches, supporters of Muscle Warriors tuning in. Whilst this would not guarantee Muscle Warriors anything in the way of championship trophy, this would certainly help their cause. Now we have to see that free-flowing attack of GBG Knights come alive, and it's a real dilemma now. They have to commit forward. They need to find that equaliser. As Mason Davies attempts an effort at goal off the left post. An incredible effort. So patient to just let the ball run across his chair and fired it into that left-hand post. Never have I seen a team better balanced with experience and youth than that of Sale United. You've got Jake Hudson and Jack Hassan guiding David D and Mason Davies. And as mentioned, GBG Knights have a dilemma now. Do they commit forward, knowing that that would leave vulnerabilities in behind? And Sale United have been so proactive, and now Oscar Smedley's going to have a chance to equalise. Brilliant save by David D, just off the front of his bumper. Much better from Oscar Smedley. The connection, the timing, the accuracy, much improved than his earlier efforts. What an excellent game we have here. Jake Hudson just sweeps up to take it out the path. Jack Ewins over to Oscar Smedley. You're absolutely right, Jay Slacky. That is Jack Hassan's 10th National League goal of the season, so he's into double digits, which I have no doubt will please him greatly. David D now on 9 assists for the season, so knowing David and looking at them 7 goals and now 9 assists, he will have the quiet ambition of double digits for both goals and assists comes season's end. Bring up the live league standings at the half-time break so you can see how this result affects the table. But at the moment, Sale United have the bragging rights. David D. Intercepted by Jack Ewins. Pick off from Kaishar. Brilliant triangular passes. It ends up with an Oscar Smedley effort. That's much better from GBG Knights. You're seeing just how effective they can be when they get their passing going. And Sale United are going to be put under a little bit of pressure in these final 2.5 minutes. Oscar Smedley to take. Both players of GBG Knights at the far post. No doubt Kai Shah will drive forward to receive. Maybe dummy it for Jack Ewins. Cut out by David D. Potential break on Jack Hassan. Just dispossessed momentarily by Jack Ewins. Mason Davies just slightly unaware as to the ball's placement, but readjusts. Flicked back to David D. Just slight signs of them switching off. No doubt it's been an intense mental battle in this 18.5 minutes. If you switch off for a second against GBG Knights, they will punish you. But so far, very little to fault when referencing the Manchester side. Jack Hassan into David D, closed by Kai Shah. Got 1 minute to hold on. Oscar Smedley's going to test that resolve. If it hadn't been for Jake Hudson's brilliant interception, forces his way down the line. And too much contact once again from Jack Ewins. Have to be careful. That's 2 tickings off from Jeff Lewis. Any further, as signalled by Jeff Lewis there, just that's his second warning. Any subsequent infringements of the rules will result in a yellow card being awarded. Good officiating from Jeff Lewis. Jack Ewins. Oscar Smedley has an attempt, but it was well marked by David D. Just seems to be everywhere. We joke about the inclusion of heat maps in power chair football if they're ever to be introduced, and there's players such as David that just touch every inch of the court and are so crucial to a team's defensive stability and attacking output. But this is going to be an opportunity. We've just ticked over into additional time. Indirect free kick. Jack Ewins to take into the path of Kai Shah. Lines up a shot. Over to Oscar Smedley. Nearly finds the gap between David D and that left-hand post. Mason Davies just trying to break. Very experienced play from a very inexperienced player there, Davies. Just to play it off Jack Ewins and win his side. The kick in. Absolutely excellent half of football. Barring any late drama, it will go into the break. Sale United 1, GBG Knights 0, and that's exactly the case. A brilliant half of football here at the Lee Westwood Sports Centre in the 5th and final weekend of the 24-25 Optegra Championship. I said I'd bring up the live league standings. Let me do that now so you can see what that result does to things. I did say that Sale United, they're safe from the jeopardy spots at the bottom. They haven't really got enough to make up on the teams above them. Whilst mathematically it's possible, it will take a real shift for them to be in contention for maybe the playoff position. Never say never, but if you're Sale United, I think the ultimate ambition is to top Manchester United. And when Manchester United currently be held to a 0-0 scoreline on Court B, Sale United, if they're able to hold on to this result, would secure a 2-point buffer over their sister club, and that would please them greatly. GBG Knights would remain 5 points adrift from Muscle Warriors, with the two set to play tomorrow afternoon. They would need Muscle Warriors to drop points if they are to get back into that title conversation. But we have another half of football. Knowing Kai Shah as I do, he's so driven and expects such high standards. So if I was a fly on the wall for this halftime team talk, if I just clear the graphics, you can see them both locked in conversations on the right and the left respectively. He will probably be saying it's not good enough. Whilst there's been moments of success, if they go through this game without managing to score, that could be their title hopes gone. But thank you to all that are tuning in to myself, Ryan Sipple, for Sale United versus GBG Knights. I'll be back very shortly for the second half. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second half of Sale United versus GBG Knights, currently separated by a single Sale United goal converted by Jack Hassan. Just for context, anyone joining us for the first time, GBG Knights chasing the title. They came into this match needing 3 points and all other wins across the weekend if they're to leapfrog Muscle Warriors and take that top spot. But right now the task has got significantly harder. If this result stands, Muscle Warriors would remain 5 points clear, with GBG Knights only having 3 games left to close the gap. Sorry, 4 games left to close the gap. So very little room for error. Sale United is just about pride, positioning, and perhaps most importantly, getting one over Manchester United, who sit a few points behind as we reference the live league standings. But a sensational half of football, hoping for more of the same in the second. They've switched things up in the half-time break. I'll bring confirmation of that substitute following this attack and passage of play. Troy Willicombe comes on to feature. Oscar Smedley comes off. Ewins down to Kai Shah. Slight disappointment. There's that opportunity wasted. It's that balance that teams always have to find with taking set pieces quickly and assertively, but not doing it so quickly that you're not set, your teammates are not set. Good pick off there from David D. Even better control from Mason Davies. Again, I have to reference the fact that this is only, I believe, his third weekend competing in the National League. Mason Davies, only 12 years of age. Sale United have forced their way down into the defensive half of GBG Knights. David D with responsibility. Can he replicate the same passage from his earlier chance? And that's again what I spoke about, taking them so quickly that errors are far more prevalent, and he's very fortunate there, David D, to escape without punishment. Jack Hassan desperately coming back to cover, but Troy Willicombe could have very easily been set away in the GBG Knights attack, and they would have had an overload as well. So a slight let off, but one of the things Sale United have done so effectively this season, and they're exhibiting it brilliantly here, is their defensive organisation. And any regular listeners of myself on the commentary and or the podcast will know the term that I'm going to reference is the fluidity. They fill each other's, they all have shared responsibilities, and if Jack Hassan pushes forward, David D drops in behind. If David D advances up the court, he has confidence and knowledge that one of the players, Mason Davies or Jack Hassan, will fill in to cover, so there's never a great deal of vulnerability in behind. The perfect balance of risk and reward. And at the centre of all of that, often the unsung hero, is that man right there, Jake Hudson. For me, having a brilliant season. And as already mentioned, Tuesday or Wednesday this week, we will be opening up the end of season awards, the big accolades, where players and teams and coaches will get recognised at our end of season awards scheduled for Saturday, June the 14th. And within those awards, there is a fantasy team of the season. So we will prompt you to suggest your fantasy team. So 4 players and 4 substitutes you believe to be top performers within their respective clubs and within the league in general. And I'm yet to fully decide it, because I think a lot of my decision making will be tied up with the conclusion of the Optegra Championship season. But I'd be hard pressed to look past Jake Hudson to be present in that fantasy team of the season. When you're referencing young player of the season, there's 3 that immediately stick out to me. David D, Oscar Smedley, and actually Oscar Mulgrew is eligible for that award. We've changed the criteria slightly, and any players that were aged 18 and under at the start of the season, which I think was potentially September 7th, will be eligible. So whilst Oscar Mulgrew is 19 now, he was 18 at the start, and he is one that many have tipped to be favourite to secure the ultimate player of the season accolade. So many compelling narratives, conversations, questions around the Championship division. Mason Davies into David D. I agree completely. Jay Slacky, David and Mason are well beyond their years. I think Mason's 14, David's 14, Mason is 12 or 13, and the levels they're showing against players that are 2-3 times their age, with 2-3 times their experience competing in the National League, has to be commended. It's beyond impressive what they're doing. Take Kai Shah, for instance, one of the most experienced operators competing in the Championship division, competed in the Premiership, arguably one of the most gifted players in this division. But David D, you would say, in the 25, 26 minutes we played, is getting the better of that battle. And that is a testament to the work they do in training, in the regional leagues, in the various cup competitions. John 1 in favour of Sale United will give their defence a little bit of respite. Mason Davies to David D. Just out of play. Time is not on the side of GBG Knights. Already we've had 7 minutes in this second half as Kai Shah controls the ball on that top left-hand corner. Across the box, intercepted by David D. I would confidently say that this would be Sale United's best victory of the season. A real standout was game week 4, where they held Teesside Steel to a 2-2 draw, and Teesside Steel on the longest unbeaten run in the Championship. I think 14 games they're up to now. But Sale United not sitting back on that 1-0 scoreline. They're looking to inflict further damage on GBG Knights. Is this nerves? Is this just because these morning fixtures are so mentally challenging? They still have time to influence this result, but they're going to have to do something different soon, as it ricochets kindly to Troy Willicombe, picks it off to Kai Shah, lets it run across his chair, controls it, but Jake Hudson does what he does so effectively and just cuts out the danger with very little fuss. Pick off to Mason Davies, flicked back to Jake Hudson, but very condensed in that central area, and the correct decision from Jeff Lewis to award a 2-on-1 indirect free kick. You almost imagine that if they're able to get that equaliser, it will open things up massively, as Oscar Smedley has an attempt at goal. It ricochets between David D and Jake Hudson, nearly over the goal line, had it not been for the awareness of David D, and that's too aggressive, that, from Oscar Smedley, desperately trying to get that equaliser. Slightly too aggressive in his pursuit of it. Sale United 1, GBG Knights 0. We've had just shy of 30 minutes, so just 10 minutes plus any additional time for them to secure some points. Even a draw would almost favour them, as Jack Hassan, I don't know whether he is caught in two minds there. It looked almost selfless to try and return the pass back to Mason Davies. He was just out of shot, but he should have just gone for goal. It was an open goal waiting to be capitalised on. But that passing play, D to Davies to Hassan, had they scored it, it would have been one of their best goals of the season. It's almost lost for words. I was just locked onto the action, which is slightly bad from me. I need to remain impartial and just go through the action as it happens. But sometimes I do have a tendency just to be in awe of the talent and the passing patterns of teams. And that's a slight miscommunication. That's very heavy contact from Reece Mallett. It was almost a 50-50, very heavy. It was the lapse in concentration. Reece Mallett with the goal kick, which was immediately intercepted by David D. And then Reece Mallett had the ball trapped between himself and Mason Davies. I'm just trying to understand the referee's decision. I think it will be a penalty, and that is the right decision. Reece Mallett, no doubt, desperately trying to compensate for that lapse in awareness. And 32 minutes in, Sale United have the opportunity to double their advantage via this penalty kick. It looks like David D will have responsibility. We spoke about his ambitions for the season in way of goal scoring and goal creation. If he is to convert this, it will be his eighth goal to go with his 9 assists. And he brilliantly converts. Such brilliant play from Sale United. We get a huge round of applause from Mark Hudson and Jonathan D on the sideline. Sale United 2, GBG Knights 0. A real upset on the cards here on Saturday morning. GBG Knights, no, they did have opportunities in that first half. There's no question about that. But nothing that has really troubled Jake Hudson in the Sale United goal. They're going for it now. They've made some switch-ups. Troy Willicombe back on. Reece Mallett, the player, coming off. And what heavy contact once again. GBG Knights really going for this game. Just trying to, once again, decide or figure out who has won that free kick. Looks as if GBG Knights will have the free kick. Hard to tell from my angle. I'm at the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You won't be able to see me, but at court level, have to it is Sale United 2, GBG Knights 0. Please disregard that scoreline as George Holloway back on. David D battling with Oscar Smedley. Down to Troy Willicombe. Over to Jack Hassan. David D trying to return the favour. Davies to D. Back to D on the left. 4.5 minutes left. Guy Sharp advancing into the box, blocked by Jake Hudson. Nearly ricochets over the goal line. Encouragement from Daniel Holt on the sidelines. The single substitute for Sale yet to feature, but it's so finely poised. You can understand the reluctance to look to the bench. It is Sale United 2, GBG Knights nil. We're working to address that scoreline. Jack Hassan in the first half. David D converting a penalty in the second. Mason Davies now looking to inflict further damage. Just check in on Court B. You will see that Manchester United are now a goal down to Leeds Dynamos. I'll bring the live league standings up at the conclusion of this game, but Sale United would now have a nice 3-point buffer over Manchester United. Although Manchester United will have a game in hand. Mason Davies. Jack Hassan. David D. Mason Davies with an opportunity. Blocked by Troy Willicombe. David D. Into Oscar Smedley. Brilliant game of football this. Sale United been so effective at restricting those passing lanes between the central player and the wide players. You consider George Holloway's 20 National League goals, you consider Oscar Smedley's 18 league assists. It shows that consistently across the season they have been prolific in punishing the opposition, but for this game it looks as if GBG Knights will suffer defeat, one that would have huge implications for the title as a whole. They've only lost one game all season, GBG Knights. That was the Muscle Warriors in game week 3. Beyond that, they seem to just be picking up points against any and everyone they face. David D, as we tick over into additional time. As you can see, the updated scoreline has now been fixed. Sale United 2, GBG Knights 0. It's going to be a huge upset to kick things off here in game week 5 of the 24-25 Optegra Championship. I'll bring up the live league standings if I'm being pushed for a player of the match. I would be hard pressed to it would be a really hard task to choose between any of those 4 Sale United players. Jake Hudson has been so effective at just minimising success. He's going to be tested here once again, puts himself in a position to prevent any danger. David D, as already mentioned, has touched every inch of the court. He has both an assist and a goal to his name. Jack Hassan does what he does so brilliantly. I'd have to go with David D, but that is to do none of their other players a disservice, because they've all played a significant role in what will be their best win of the season, and I would probably go as far as to say one of their best ever wins in the National League. And that is the full-time whistle. A sensational result for Sale United. 2-0 victors. Full-time on Court B. It looks like it was a 2-0 scoreline in favour of Leeds Dynamos over there. So we had one Manchester-based side securing a 2-0 win and another suffering a 2-0 defeat. To show you the live league standings, you will see how significant that is or could be for the overall outcome of the division in its entirety. There's still a 5-point margin between GBG Knights and Muscle Warriors. They are set to play tomorrow afternoon, so a GBG Knights could lessen it to just a 2-point margin, but it means that the title race is no longer in their hands. They're going to need Muscle Warriors to drop points, and just to build that full picture, GBG Knights following this will play Leeds Dynamos, Villa Rockets, 2 teams in hot pursuit of that 3rd place playoff, before playing Nottingham Forest, and then of course that Muscle Warriors game. So if they're going to claw back some momentum, they're going to have to do it in style. Muscle Warriors, just a 4-game weekend, more favourable on paper. AFC Bournemouth Warriors, Manchester City, Manchester United before the final game against GBG Knights. When we're talking about Sale United, they will just be looking to take the momentum from this one across the entirety of game week 5. They play Dudley at 1 o'clock, and tomorrow they play Manchester City and Nottingham Forest. But thank you to everyone that's tuned in to me for this opening game of game week 5. I will be back on commentary, I think, alongside the man of the moment, David D, for Hull and East Yorkshire and Nottingham Forest. One that could be incredibly significant towards the other end of the table. Thank you all that have tuned in. See you soon.